the two things that we had to do better if we were going to win this game, we had to shoot the ball better. And that is one thing that St. Joe's does to everyone, not just us, is they force teams to shoot threes, and that has been a strength of ours in certain games, and we certainly just didn't make enough of the open looks. The other thing that really was a problem in the second half, we gave up way too many offensive rebounds. So we gave up 7 offensive rebounds in the second half, plus there were a couple more situations where we fouled them in the rebounding situations. So we did make them miss more in the second half, but we didn't turn those possessions into stops, and so that had to happen for us to be successful. Our team did value the ball here today, and so that kept us around, but we had to do those two things better.
How much of a factor was them doubling guys on the block, including Ebon route down low? Yeah,
so they do guard the post in different ways, and I think what they did most of the game was crowd the post. So in other words, most of the game wasn't a full-fledged double team. They did do that at times, but most of it they just got close enough to bother the post player, and so that certainly did that did affect us.
Again, another 40 minutes tonight, 12 points, 8 assists, only just 1 minute in the past 5 games where you guys are 3 and 2. What has he meant to you during this stretch when he played tonight?
Well, as you can tell, we do want the ball in his hands, and he's making really good decisions. So he did have a couple turnovers, but in general, he is creating open looks for himself. He was able to get to the rim, but then also he created open shots for his teammates. So he is a big part of our attack right now. And I don't know if anyone feels like they played great today, but Ege did play closer. He played better than a lot of guys.
Hicks got more playing time.
Yeah, so Paris really was a big part of our last game at Duquesne. Defended very well on the ball in Pittsburgh and made the same shots that he got today. So what we really need right now, we need guys on the perimeter sticking in jumpers, and Paris has been a guy that has done it at times this year, and I really like the looks he got. There was one transition layup that probably was ill-advised, but his looks from 3 were good looks.
What was the biggest challenge about playing without both Will Tavares and Joe Chartouni tonight?
Just maybe keeping some guys fresh is probably the challenge. So, the entire game was 5-on-5. It was still basketball the way it's supposed to be played. However, there probably were a couple guys that would ask me for a sub, at some point that didn't. So I guess that would be the answer.
5 games left before the A-10 tournament. What are some things to build on to build some momentum?
Well, the two things I started with, we've got to rebound the ball better. And so there were rebounds that were in our hands that we didn't get. There were rebounds where we didn't physically block out. To give up 7 offensive rebounds in the second half was really painful.
Last thing, for me at least, what can you say about Thomas Sanchez's career-high 5 points? I know it's a loss, but he made a couple of shots tonight.
Yeah, well, that's what we've been looking for from these guys, meaning Brenton Petty got in and played double-figure minutes at Duquesne, was part of a big win. Chris Downing was part of a big win against George Mason. So, it's the same message. Like, we want these guys to get in there and contribute and be part of big wins. That certainly didn't happen tonight.